Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Jackson County Board of Commissioners. Today, September 7th, 2021. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Let's go ahead and approve the minutes. I have several minutes of the reconvened meeting from 12:55 p.m. on the August 10th, the work session on August the 10th, the reconvened meeting at 2 o'clock on August the 10th, and then our regular meeting from August 17th. After having a chance to review those, it's distributed by the clerk. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, have a motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any question or discussion? All in favor of approving these 4 sets of minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're going to take about a 10-minute recess before we get into our administrative reports. So you'll just bear with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. And this time, we'll go through our administrative reports. I'll just say, in terms of the chairman's report, I just want to mention, I know we've had an unprecedented event that took place in our neighboring counties here in this mountain area of Western North Carolina. I believe when we left here the last time, the rains were falling and my beeper for the fire department was activated, and there was a lot of emergency calls in place. I know Michael Forbes, our fire marshal, Todd Dillard, our emergency management coordinator, were going to be here helping us in the meeting as far as the presentation, but we're not able to be here because of the preparation for the storm. This would have been Hurricane Fred, and since then we've had Ida, but a significant amount of destruction over in Haywood County, Transylvania County. I think Haywood was hit the worst, but there's been quite a bit of widespread destruction. Some Buncombe County. I think Commissioner Deeps, Henderson County has seen some of that firsthand. The sheriff was telling me about going to help deliver some stuff. But I just want to say, I know all those folks are in our thoughts and prayers, and our neighboring counties. They're our mountain neighbors. A lot of them are our family, our friends. Our staff from this county has gone over and assisted with some of the recovery efforts, search and rescue efforts. I know through our emergency management office, our local jurisdiction law enforcement has sent people over to assist. We have some of our own county employees that were living in that area that met some of the destruction. Our emergency service departments have responded and assisted with the search and rescue. And so to all those folks that have aided in that on behalf of Jackson County, we do very much appreciate their efforts and endeavors, and just let our neighbors and friends in Haywood and those other areas know that we are still here and we're still finding ways to help. I know there are many charitable organizations that you can go online and link to and make financial contributions if you'd like to financially help. I think they've been overwhelmed with some of the delivery of goods, not being able to find a place to store everything. There's so much stuff that's come in. So, but we just do want to recognize all the effort that has come forward and thank those that have volunteered and served.
We've got a lot of groups, churches.
A lot
I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
Even this coming Friday. And last week they were over just going to individual homes, falling in there doing things for them. And I talked to one fella, he said, figure that'd be 2 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
Long term.
if we got anyone who wants to volunteer, there's some of these, I know United Methodist churches, like they're going this Friday, we got that all days. Let's find a place to work. It's awesome. I bet I told you steps. There's no words to explain. Map stretch from New Orleans to New Jersey like that. And I read this morning where 86% of the citizens in America have in some way been affected by catastrophic weather this year, whether it be heat or floods or tornadoes or fires. I mean, it's almost like we need to feel sorry for us. I don't think anything's happened much to us, and it's really hot. We think it's hot.
Absolutely. Commissioner Strickland, any report today?
No, sir, I don't have any reports yet.
Mr. Jones?
We may have read the same report, because I wrote some notes down here. 1 in 3 counties in the United States have been affected by the catastrophic fires, tornadoes, or floods. That's hard to put a grasp on that. And and that's something that we all have to, we all should address and think out of the box any way we can. Do not just help our neighbors, but help our climate.
That's right. So it's a bigger problem, it's a worldwide problem.
It is, absolutely.
Mr. Wood?
I wanted to say, I really was so proud of our staff here in Jackson County that participated in the greening up the mountains. We had, the, recycling and, trash, Chad Parker and, Kim Schuler participated all day. We had a table there and gave out a lot of literature, talked to a lot of people about recycling, and that was really effective. And then I know that we had the historic preservation, our new person, Anna, had a table, and it was really lovely display. And then we also had people from water and trying to think, there was one other from Jackson County.
Greenway.
The Greenway, hey, thank you. The Greenway people were there. And I was just so proud that we had that much presence. Lots of people came by, we gave out a lot of information. So I feel like it shows our citizens that we've got agencies and citizens, but also staff that are very committed. They gave up that Saturday to be there. And it means a lot. So I wanted to thank all of them.
Mr. Deeds?
No, sir, I'm saying.
Okay, all right, Mr. Manager?
I have no formal report. I need to make an announcement, and unfortunately, I did have to cancel the Citizens Academy due to two reasons. One was we were starting to receive additional applications, but I did get concerns expressed from departmental operations in regards to with the COVID spike. If you recall how our Citizens Academy works, is we bring everybody together in a group, we feed them. And of course, one of the exceptions from wearing a mask is when you sit down and eat. And so just had some concerns from staff, and I don't believe we need to force anybody to be participating in group settings while we still have our COVID spike going. So unfortunately, we'll just have to wait till hopefully next year and have our Citizens Academy. That's all.
I don't believe there's anyone that signed up to speak for informal comments. Unless Jonathan Bost, is he on? Did you see him?
No, he has not come in yet.
That's the only person I saw. No one else here. But we'll move on then to new business. And item 1 is the Transit 5311 Capital Projects Program Grant. And so I'm going to recognize Ms. Norma Taylor, our Transit Director. She's going to share a little bit of information with us and tell us what we need to do here.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. And just so you know, Transit did provide transportation for bringing up mountains.
Oh, great. I should have mentioned that. Thank you.
And a mobile.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, we have that all over the side of that bus. I'm here today, though, to request that the board set a public hearing on September the 21st at 12:55 for the FY 23, 5311, 5310 Krogan grants.
And you see a copy in your packet here for just discussion purposes today. The memorandum coming from Ms. Taylor asking for these grant public hearings, which is a standard process that she has gone through multiple times over the years, asking for us to approve these so that they pave the way for the drawdown of these funds. Any questions about this request? All right, then hearing none, do we have a motion? Then we call for a public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Question or discussion?
I have a question, but it's not on regards to the grant. I just want to ask you how the transit going up to Cashers is, Blue Ridge School and such. It's a little off subject.
Okay, well, we have got that started. We have, the most passengers we've had right now has been 4 on any given day. And as far as we've gone, it's been to Blue Ridge School. We haven't had anyone going into Cashers at this point. But we do have some posters that we have made, that we've got made up that we want to put out in different places and distribute to the Chamber of Commerce and Cashers and in Sylva and around different places, letting people know. And we're going to take an ad out in the paper. But hopefully we'll start getting more riders interested in going all the way into Cashers. We have got a plan worked out on the time frame and the stops, that we're going to run it kind of like we do the trolley. We won't be going out into neighborhoods door to door, but we have specific places we can pick you up in Billsboro, Main Street, Sylva, SCC, at the rec department in Coley, the dollar store in Tuckasegee, Blue Ridge School. So we're
Thank
hoping
you.
it's gonna take off and work well.
Hope so too. And thank you and Mr. Adams for your efforts. Thank you.
That's great.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Stradlin,
Yeah.
Chairman Mack.
Yes, motion carried. Next is item 2, the Blue Ridge School project. This would be the CDBG 1 closeout. Mr. Poston, if you want to highlight a little bit about what you're requesting to see.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. As you are well aware, we received community development block grants to modernize the water and wastewater systems of Blue Ridge schools. A part of this process, we had public hearings to apply for the grant. We're also required to have public hearings so we can report out the the accomplishments of the grant. Obviously, we completed all the work in a timely fashion. It's all been certified now, complete, and in order for us to get closed out by the end of September, we need to have this public hearing. What you have with you is basically the final report. I'll be going over this. If you remember from CDBG projects, I get to read to you, and so that's just the easiest way to make sure you hit all the marks that you need to hit for the grant process. So I won't read this to you today, but just know the project was completed with the grant funds through the 3 grants for a total of $1,300,000. The whole contract amount was $1,315,738. 1.2 million or so came from the grant process, so we got a pretty good deal and a lot of great work done. I would request that the board consider holding this public hearing September 21st at 12:45 p.m. At that time, we can finish out the grant process.
You've heard the request for a public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion to call for a public hearing?
I make that motion for a public hearing at 12:45.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion about the motion?
No, but I would like to make a comment that Mr. Poston also spent Saturday at the reading of the mountains and talked to lots of people as well. I did want to mention that.
Oh, I thought you said the double.
No, you know what?
It's a popular move.
Any other comments or questions? If not, then Madam Clerk, please call the roll, please.
Commissioner Stradlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Chairman Mack.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And next, while Mr. Poston is at the podium, it's rare that we allow you to have 2 agenda items.
Don told me to make it quick.
Item 3 is going to be the pedestrian and Greenway plan, and this has been before us before, so
Really just comes before you, we came to the July work session and Christy Carter explained to you how all the process worked. That we had the final plan up and available for public comment. We received a few minor comments from the public, nothing that changes the planning process. We also received a few comments from NCDOT, as this is the planning process they have to approve of. They gave us some general feedback. None of the feedback that we received was, change any of the recommendations or the process of the plan. But we, as part of our grant project, we do bring us back before the board to approve the plan. And so that's what we're here tonight to take a look at. One thing I will address, and Commissioner Dees, I think you had a question about one project specifically, a sidewalk on Skyland. I can report to you that based on what I know today, that contract should be let January this year, and the project should be moving forward. They had to go back and redo some utility line work to make sure they got everything right. But my understanding with DOT and the town still is that project should be moving forward in early 22.
That's great. Most is soon, but it's great.
You know, with, I just, and I don't want to be negative at all, but with the destruction in Haywood County and roads that have in Transylvania, I mean, is it realistic that DOT, they're gonna have to make some serious infrastructure repairs on some of these roads because of that flooding? Will that impact their ability to go ahead with this sidewalk unit?
I don't know. Well, the money's already, I can't tell you for certain because I don't know what the impact of the cost will be necessarily, but and much like all of the years that we have landslides or rock slides, all those things come into play. To my knowledge, right now, we've not heard anything different that this project will move forward. Of course, the town Silva does have a cost share. And what happens with sidewalk money is DOT is a pass-through agency, so these dollars come from the federal coffers. So it's the different pots of money that funds transportation infrastructure and for sidewalks in this project. So I would say that unless their funding cap gets below the prescribed amount by the legislator, this money would actually come out of federal funds and not state funds, if that makes sense. So my hope is that would not be impacted like you would a normal transportation project. Or a straight transportation project.
I would imagine too that some of this infrastructure repair comes out of like the rainy day fund that state has.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes.
Separate and aside from the regular standard.
Not to change the subject, but Kelly Mountain, they just paved it again, broke off again, sunk almost a foot. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
yes. That is gonna be a never ending hole. Bottomless pit.
So I can certainly go through any part of the process if there's any question for me. But like I said, we didn't get too much in the way of any more feedback than what we've gotten from our steering committee. We had a really great steering committee made up of a lot of stakeholders throughout the community. We had to change our public outreach this time. We couldn't do big group meetings, so we did a lot of one-on-one meetings with a lot of our stakeholder groups. And tell you that this is probably one of the more most representative plans that we've come up with, just because we had to be more intentional about meeting people where they were and getting into groups and not relying on everyone just to come to us. We went to them. So I think that what you'll find is this planning document reflects Jackson County and the needs of all of our user groups. We'd love to have this approved by the commissioners if you're so willing.
So talk a little bit about if we were to move forward this evening with a approval of this plan, what happens after the approval?
So board transportation ultimately has to, we go through a couple steps on DOT's end, but really what this does is gives a couple things. One, when it comes down to cost, because we have the plan, there used to be a cost share with local jurisdictions when sidewalk was being built. DOT only paid for a portion. The new complete streets policy of DOT says if you have your project in the planning document, especially the pedestrian planning document, there'll be zero match from the community required. So this will help us with all the pedestrian projects that we have identified move forward Now, we'll take project, DOT, we have to go through the DOT prioritization process and get them, but once it's being done and completed, there won't be any additional costs like there has been previously for the local municipalities and the county, and county would have to provide a cost share like we had done with Monteith Gap Road and what we've done with some other projects here where smaller costs, but still we'll be back to paying zero of that cost. So that's why we wanted to make sure the segments we put in were realistic to be constructed, but we also want to make sure that we had a broad list of projects to prepare for that eventuality. So that's one part. The other part is that staff can begin to work on a more robust policy on sidewalk maintenance, care, and acceptance. As you know, county, this is something new for the county, even though we've done a little bit of it in the past, but setting up a policy framework and ability to maintain these systems in perpetuity, as we're going to be asked to do. So it's going to take some more work on that. And so kind of twofold from both ends, the payment of it, and then the care and acceptance and long-term sustainability of the pedestrian network.
Other thoughts or comments, Commissioner Wood?
I do have a question. I know that Vision Cashers, and this was actually before Mr. Jones was a commissioner, but they made the presentation to us and were gonna expand sidewalks and had said that they had gotten businesses in Cashers to agree to pay. Is that still the case? Is that reflected in this report?
Yeah, it's reflected that Vision Cashers has been doing a lot of good community work up in the Cashers area. We still put those segments on the plan because we won't ever, you always want to prepare that it doesn't all, they don't catch every gap. And so you want to make sure that when the opportunity arises and while transportation infrastructure improvement is not like a spur of the moment type of deal, but occasionally there'll be a project that pops up that gets reprioritized because of funding and so you just want to be prepared for that project. So including it in the plan, even though there's other entities working and community groups working, doing good work in the community, we want to make sure that we're kind of backstopping that in case, hey, all of a sudden we find out 107 is going to get redone and they're going to have to put sidewalk in. Well, now that's one less part the community has to worry about. We'll fill all the gaps. And that could be the same as any part of the county. So we plan that way to prepare for some potential unknowns about the timeframes.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions about the pedestrian plan? Okay, we've had an opportunity to review this for several weeks now. It's a very well put together plan. What's the pleasure of the board concerning its adoption?
I move to adopt this plan.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none, then Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Dean.
Yes.
Commissioner Woody.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland.
Yes.
Chairman Mack.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next is item 4, the Cashers Glenville Volunteer Fire Department contract. Mr. Adams will present this one.
Yes, sir. You have closed in your package the proposed contract with the Cashers Glenville Fire Department. As you're aware, our contract ended at the last fiscal year, so we've been operating on a continuation of that contract. This contract reflects basically any additional changes made. I want to point out a couple things. If you go to page 2, the term of this contract is now coincides with our revaluation year. So you can see that it's through June 30th, 2025. Other things to point out is under section 3 there. Basically, we do pay out the funds received from the fire service tax 1/12, or basically on a monthly basis. We also do, just board's information, if there's a fund balance at the end of the year from that tax, it is basically put into account and rolled over to the next year. So ultimately, if Chief Dillard or the fire department needs an additional need, they can just come back to the board and request those additional funds. and so ultimately that's what will happen every year. I do recommend to Chief Dillard that they keep a little bit of money in that fund balance. So that ultimately, a couple things, it's better for cash management. And then second is that they do have additional needs occasionally they can come back and discuss it with the board. Other than that, it's a pretty standard agreement. This is something our attorney did a good job putting together. I will note also, if you go to the next page, items 7 and 12. We used to have, excuse me, a separate mutual aid agreement with the fire department, meaning the fire department would sign mutual aid, provide mutual aid to other departments. It's been incorporated into this contract, and ultimately, basically, instead of having 2 agreements, we have 1 agreement with the fire department.
What was the time period of the former contract?
I believe it was a 5 years? Yeah, it was 5 years. So what we've done is they're in agreement that we should just go ahead and make this coincide with the revaluation year. And I think they attempted, because the county had moved our revaluation year, we sort of moved it, made it 5 years to coincide with this revaluation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so now, I believe the county had extended that 4-year period to a 5-year period, and that's why the contract was extended 5 years. But now we're back on a regular 4-year revaluation cycle. So it just makes sense to revisit this contract every revaluation period.
Okay, we've heard the request to approve this contract with the Cashier Glenville Fire Department. And if I believe I'm not misspeaking here, I believe I'm telling you this is accurate. I believe the Cashier Glenville Fire District is the largest emergency response district in the state of North Carolina.
Really?
This is really.
It's that big of a district.
Wow.
Isn't that something? I didn't.
I didn't realize that either.
Would you like to entertain a motion to approve the contract?
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have one. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, then Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Strickland,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner D.
Yes.
Chairman McNamee.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, press conference. Let's see who's left on with us. Let Heather. I can't see who's on the screen. Beth? See Beth. Beth, did you have any follow-up questions?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe she's the only one that's still with us. I have bad news. Or we do have to eat for closed session. Yeah, we have to. It's Don's fault.
So 2 items. 2 items, Mr. Chairman. It's real property and personnel.
All right, real property, 143-318-11A5. And then personnel, 143-318-11A6. We have a motion to go into closed session concerning these 2 items.
So moved.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.